Okay, welcome to our Halloween special with Suzanne Muldowney as
Spectrum, the Ghost King.
Spectrum the Ghost King, yes. So Suzanne, why are we here today?
We're here to make a segment expressly about Halloween and its customs, although Halloween isn't celebrated worldwide, apparently just in North America.
Okay, and why is that? Do you know?
Actually, Halloween originated in Ireland. Do you remember a civilization or culture called the Druids?
Yes.
Okay. They were among ancient peoples who believed that just before the onset of the really cold weather, ghosts and other supernatural beings would rise for a last bit of good time cheer. But it's important here to realize in rising up and partying, they did not wander among the citizenry. They kept to themselves.
Only the Druids?
Yes.
Now, who were the citizens?
Hmm?
Who were the citizens?
The what?
Were the Druids also the citizens?
No, they were an ancient civilization in Ireland.
And did they have a favorite drink?
I was never taught that.
Okay, so how old is the holiday then?
I'd say about 700 years. Some other ancient culture had a designated day called Samhain, something like that. That was supposedly the last day of summer, although somewhere in the process they fixed it officially to the last day of October because November 1st, the next day, was a holy day, the Feast of All Saints. Catholics have a religious and moral obligation to go to Mass on either November 1st or the night of October 1st to honor all the past saints. And Samhain supposedly paid homage to supernatural beings somewhere along the way. All Saints' Day and then Halloween were juxtaposed.
And you're also Irish. You're also Irish.
Actually, I'm mixed, Irish, German, and British.
But your last name is Muldowney, which is
Yes,
Irish.
but sometimes my parents and grandparents would bear down on the name Muldowney being Irish, so I would want to know, did the Muldowneys have any prominent ancestors in the past? But it turned out we didn't.
Well, sometimes it's hard to find all the records.
Well, it took Alex Haley 12 years to find all the records on his ancestors. You remember the TV series Roots?
Yes.
Originally, it was a book by Alex Haley, but in 1977, it was made into a TV miniseries.
That was very popular. It was very popular.
Yes.
I think it's getting easier to find your roots.
Oh, I've seen all these commercials about something called Ancestry and some other methods that allow you to use high-tech equipment to trace your origins.
Yeah, well, it's not that high tech, but yes. So what else about Halloween? What should we know? If you're telling people about Halloween, what should they know about Halloween?
If sometimes the supernatural beings were supposed to menace the citizenry, the live people offered some kind of token or some mark of respect to the supernatural beings so that the living people wouldn't be menaced by the supernatural beings. That's how ultimately we have the tradition of trick-or-treats for the kids. The kids are in costume. They say trick or treat every time someone answers a house door. And the idea is if you give the children something nice to eat, like, usually candy, then they won't pull pranks. But unfortunately, here in the United States, and goodness knows about Canada or Mexico, somewhere the practice developed, I never understood how, of October 30th, the day before Halloween, being designated as Mischief Night. And that's a very savage way of saying one wants everything yesterday. Because giving out the treats on Halloween is supposed to curb wrongdoing. But people who involve themselves in wrongdoing on October the 30th want everything yesterday.
Maybe you should give them candies a day early.
Unfortunately, that's never been made a system or a written law.
Yeah, who should do that? Who should make that into a law?
Who should make those laws?
Well, you said it wasn't made into a law, so like if somebody, who should do that?
Well, probably the regional governments. Now, a great many towns might have their Halloween parades or some other public Halloween celebration on October 30th to deter mischief makers.
Right.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's see. Today's the 28th.
No, today
in just 2 more days, I'll be in a Halloween parade.
Okay. Now you do a lot of Halloween parades.
I don't do just Halloween parades. I do parades just about all year round.
But today we're talking about Halloween.
Yes,
so
I know.
How many do you do?
Well, the Halloween parades that I've been in, and most likely identical parades in other parts of the country, would squeeze all the parades within at most a 2-week period in rapid succession. So usually when it's Halloween time, at least the second half of October, I'm in 4 to 6 in different sites.
Okay. Any towns specifically, or do you have a set towns that you go to?
No, I have an established territory. It's mostly the southern New Jersey shore. There's one town in kind of the middle of the state of New Jersey, and another one close by but slightly inland, between 2 oceanfront towns.
Which town is that?
Ocean City, New Jersey. There's another Ocean City in Maryland.
That's right,
and Cape May, which is the southernmost part of New Jersey.
That's right. Exit 0, right? Is that the last exit on the Parkway?
What? Excuse me?
The Parkway, right? New Jersey Parkway?
Garden State
Garden
Parkway.
State, yeah. But
What about it?
it's the last exit, right? No?
It's a major north to south highway,
I know, but
close
Cape
to
May
the
is the end of
shoreline.
it. Cape May is the last exit.
Yes.
Okay, that's
yes.
what I'm saying.
All right, I didn't quite understand. All right, I spoke about Mischief Night as a poor excuse for wrongdoing and wanting everything yesterday.
But what's good about Halloween? Since that's one of your favorite holidays, right?
It is because because people are expected to dress in costume and maybe put themselves on exhibition. if you have a private party, that then you have only so many guests, so many participants within a limited enclosure. Now with parades, you're on a public street, and there are a great many citizens watching you.
Right. And what do you like about it?
About parades?
Parades, yeah.
I started doing parades in 1987 because I wasn't making that much progress anymore on stage or on television. So I figured a parade was the best kind of event because I would be performing for an extended length of time from the start to the finish of the route in the presence of many spectators.
And what's good about Halloween besides the chance to do do you like giving candy away? Do you like candy yourself?
Yes, certainly. Yes.
Do you enjoy that?
Yes. I'm very careful not to gorge myself on candy. I have a rather large supply, but I make it last a while.
What's your favorite kind?
I have several favorite kinds. Well, the common denominator is they're chocolate flavored.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah.
For chocolate.
Tootsie Rolls?
Or
What?
Tootsie Rolls?
Well, yes, Tootsie Rolls. A couple of others are bars that are chocolate coated with some kind of inside filling. Three Musketeers, you ever eaten them? Mm-hmm. Well, they have an inside filling. So do Milky Ways.
Okay. Do you get a lot of kids? Do you have a lot of kids coming?
No trick-or-treaters ever come to my home because I'm always at the ocean front for Halloween and the night before it.
Okay, so you're not home for Halloween. So you're never home. So
That's right. Okay. Until some years ago, my apartment complex had a system of distributing orange paper pumpkins. If a household was going to give out trick-or-treat candy, they were supposed to put this pumpkin somewhere on the door or other conspicuous spot so that the children knew they were going to the right places. Yeah, remember how in the original Passover, the Israelites marked their doorways and the upper part of the door with lamb's blood to indicate that they were participating in the Passover, so that God would not strike the firstborn of the families dead.
It's an interesting comparison.
I'd say analogy.
Yeah.
So what else should we know about Halloween?
Well, we have to remember it was started for religious reasons, in this case paying respect to all the saints on a specific day. Well, unfortunately, another thing I have to bring up is that there are some real-life Halloween horrors. Now, every year we have the annual onslaught of witches, ghosts, sorcerers, monsters, demons, and so forth. Many people grumble that commercial costumes, shows, parades, toys, decorations shouldn't imitate or impersonate those imaginary myths or fantasies. But now witches, ghosts, sorcerers, etc. do exist, and not just at Halloween, but all year round. However, in real life, they do not look, dress, or go about their lives the way tradition says. The real-life Halloween horrors, or rather perennial horrors, are strippers, go-go dancers, nude models, pornographers, seducers, gangsters, rapists, killers, and terrorists.
Okay, and you put them all together in one group.
Well, because they do not. Well, some of them stick to their private headquarters, but others go out at large. But the important thing is, real life horrors like gangsters, rapists, killers, and terrorists don't wear costumes. They're dressed normally, and they take unsuspecting people by force.
Well, they do kind of wear costumes.
I would not call a mask with an opening for the eyes and dark shirts and pants a costume. That still looks pretty civilian.
But you mentioned go-go dancers.
Yeah, I was coming to that. Lewd dressers and entertainers, immodestly dressed, confine themselves to their own quarters. There are no captive audiences. Customers come and go freely. Willful customers put themselves under these immodestly dressed entertainers' spells. That's where you have your real life black magic, witchcraft, and occultics.
So is that how ISIS works as well?
ISIS?
Well, you mentioned terrorists. You put terrorists and strippers together.
No, terrorists do not wear costumes.
Well, some of them do.
Well, but the big difference between them and strippers is strippers are immodestly dressed and they confine themselves to quarters. Terrorists don't do that.
Well, what if they wear a suicide vest?
What's a suicide mask?
No, vest. That's part of the costume. I mean, it's not as attractive as a bikini, but yeah, it's still terrifying.
Oh boy. They go out to menace the public, innocent people. They do not stick to themselves.
Okay, so if I understand you, the strippers put a spell on people, but they bring them in, and terrorists actually go out to public. Like public comes to strippers, but terrorists go out to public.
That's right.
So
That's
is
right.
that the main difference between the two?
Yes.
I see. So you learn something every day.
What?
So you learn something every day. I didn't know that.
I want to talk next about, my costume, but also how I came to know costumes while I was growing up.
Okay.
When I was little and first introduced to the concept of trick-or-treating or having to wear a mask when I was dressed in costume with my kindergarten classmates, I didn't want to wear the mask because, because I was not born with it. It was something added. And I didn't like the way it limited my vision by having only eye openings. But my mother insisted, you must wear the mask, otherwise everybody will recognize who you are. Oh boy, have I got a message for those people and people nowadays. When I was very young, I saw a TV commercial in which two kids were wearing Mickey and Minnie Mouse masks. You saw the masks covering their faces, and they came forward almost abreast of the cameras, but then they stopped and they turned their heads so that they were looking at each other, and that way... All right, there's the mask. But now look what happens when I turn my head. You can see the side and sometimes the back of my head so that I'm still recognizable. Get the picture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's frightening. That was frightening.
What? It was what?
Frightening.
No, it was insufficient for masks that covered only the face to to obscure any one person's identity.
To convey the illusion. To convey that illusion
Yes.
that you're that character. Now, how do you feel about because in recent years there have been more full head masks where you pull it over, it's rubberized, and it covers your entire head, and sometimes creates a misshapen look to your head.
Well, you're getting kind of ahead of me, but another thing about costumes of the past was that if you were supposed to be a specific character, the basic suit over your body was unauthentic in terms of artwork, because if you were supposed to be, let's say, Frankenstein's monster, you might have a mask for your head, or nowadays you'd have a more a 3D mask to cover your whole head. But then on the suit there would be artwork, usually a picture of the character's head, so that it wasn't authentic.
I do remember those. They were terrible.
Ugh, disgraceful. Mm-hmm. Well, nowadays costumes are more authentic. Well, not only are they made to be authentic in terms of which character you're doing, but they're also more appropriate for cold temperatures. Now, do you remember when children went out trick-or-treating, if the weather was cold, the grown-ups forced them to wear civilian coats or jackets over their costumes?
Yep.
That destroyed the authenticity. Obviously, in those days, thermal undergarments had not yet been invented. Mm-hmm. But now that we have thermal undergarments, that allows for more authentic costumes while still protecting yourself against the elements.
Yeah, you don't want a ballerina in an overcoat.
No, wait a minute. When you say ballerina, describe how the skirt would look.
The tutu, I would assume.
Well, the tutu itself lends itself to a history. Just how long do you imagine the skirt to be? You're talking about one of these real short skirts, kind of like a big powder puff?
I guess so.
Okay, because in the second quarter of the 19th century, when ballerinas were first made to dance on tiptoe, they had to create the illusion of dancing as lightly as feathers, and they would be portraying supernatural beings. So when the tutu was invented, it was a long skirt.
Huh.
Have you ever seen pictures, maybe a whole bunch of ballet dancers in tutus with long skirts?
No.
Well, because I have.
Yeah.
A number of some of the best-known ballets that were created in the 19th century had the women dressed like that. That's also how partly this costume design came to be.
So maybe we should talk about your costume design.
What?
Maybe we should talk about your costume.
I will in a little while. Now, with the passing of time, the tutus were made shorter and shorter and shorter until you have just the powder puffs familiar today, because the dancers were being made to do flashier leg and foot movements. Mm-hmm. So the tutus were made shorter and shorter so that the spectators could see those flashier movements. The really short tutu would not protect a trick-or-treater's legs from the elements.
Right, and that's why you'd have to wear an overcoat, and that just wouldn't be appropriate.
If I were portraying a ballerina nowadays in the real short tutu, I'd have tights, but I'd have thermal underpants underneath, and most likely I'd make the costume have long sleeves. Mm-hmm. The more obvious tutus bare the dancers' necks and shoulders. In fact, throughout history, when when I've been doing Underdog, some people would yell, "Wonder Woman!" But that's wrong, because Wonder Woman's basic costume bares the neck and shoulders, and thus is inappropriate for cold temperatures. All right, you said you wanted me to describe the history of how this costume came to be.
You made this beautiful costume, so we
Yes.
should definitely talk about it.
Yeah, all right. Now, I was inspired by the ballets that had all the women's chorus lines in the long tutus, especially with the ballet called Giselle. The second act has a big bunch of ballet dancers in long tutus, and they're supposed to be portraying ghosts. And since they were made to dance on their toes to make them look as light as feathers, I was inspired that I could do like that. I could be a misty, mysterious being. I'm supposed the way those dancers are supposed to be. Now I got the inspiration for Ghost from a classical piece of music. You heard me say how there would always be myths and legends about supernatural beings rising up and maybe partying or sometimes dancing. Mm-hmm. Okay, there are some classical music compositions that depict those exact situations. The specific one I'm thinking about is Danse Macabre. It's a French name because it was a French composer, Charles Camille Saint-Saëns. Mm-hmm. And the music was supposed to depict ghosts rising en masse with one leader, all dancing and dancing and dancing away until daybreak.
Okay.
So I was inspired by that piece of music. Now also, for this particular ghost, I thought of the name Spectrum because I was 13 when I first took ballet lessons, and when it came time for my first recital, my first ballerina costume was the short tutu and the baring of the neck and shoulders. But in the catalog, it was called Spectrum because the skirt had varying panels of red, orange, green, yellow, all the way around. Mm-hmm. And, well, also you have another abbreviation or term for ghost, specter? Specter? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so why not spectrum? To suggest the colors of the rainbow. Yeah. Because I got the idea that the spectrum should twirl like a top, so that the robe billowed out, and especially his collar, mm-hmm. all studded with diamonds, would glitter in the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's why you do the dance. That's why you do the spinning dance.
Yes.
On the beach.
Now, as far as the headpiece goes, I never liked how old-fashioned ghost costumes draped over the wearer. They weren't even well formed. They were just old bed sheets with holes cut at the eyes. Yeah. Okay, I didn't like that. I came to design a hood because sometimes on TV I saw ballet programs in which the dancers wore hoods similar to this. I don't think they didn't always wear robes. They wore unitards, bodysuits. Yeah. But the hood covered the head but left the face exposed for unlimited vision. So that's how this headpiece came to be.
Now the I forget what I was going to say.
There you go. That's what happens when we get old.
What?
He just remembered.
Have you ever now? And you don't. I know you don't like masks,
No.
but what do you? How do you feel about face paint? Have you ever done anything like that, or do you
No,
avoid
I've
that
never
as well?
done that. Sometimes kids have their faces painted, but thank goodness the paint is a chemical structure that washes off with
Yeah.
ordinary soap and water
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah, it's not something you have to worry about
That-
because clowns do it all the time. Clowns and mimes, and besides children.
Yeah, but even the clowns have their whole faces exposed
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's why I wondered
so that
if,
they have unlimited vision.
if you would do that to make your face match the rest of your costume.
Put white paint on my face? Well,
Maybe.
well, I could have, but I really didn't think it was necessary because in the instances I've previously spoken about ballet dancers wearing the long white costumes, dancing en masse, and supposedly portraying supernatural beings, the visible parts of their bodies had no white makeup. They retained their original faces and other body parts.
Do you always wear Spectrum for Halloween, or you occasionally wear something else?
For Halloween itself, I always do Spectrum, but the Halloween parades, which take place the last couple of weeks before, I'm diverse.
Okay, so what else would you wear for the parades?
If it's an anniversary, a milestone anniversary year for some character, then I would do that character in all the Halloween parades I do that year. If there's no special anniversary, then I vary my costumes among the number of parades.
So what was the last non-Spectrum costume that you wore?
Well, last year was Spectrum's 50th anniversary, so I had to do him for all of last year's Halloween parades. This year is Underdog's 55th anniversary. So I've been in 2 parades, and I still have one more coming up. Now, next year, I had my New York City friend Phil look up the origins of some popular fictional characters. He found out that the Catwoman, one of Batman's recurrent adversaries, was born in comic books in the spring of 1940, which means that this coming year is her 80th anniversary. So I'll be doing her much more frequently this coming year than I usually do.
You know what's amazing? She doesn't look a day over 25.
Well, Catwoman or I?
Catwoman.
Yes, that's true.
I wonder what vitamins she takes.
What?
Do you know what vitamins she takes?
That information is never revealed.
Terrible.
Now, when I do Catwoman, I do wear a mask, but it doesn't cover my whole face. You know, the simple eye mask with holes that the Lone Ranger wears? Okay, my Catwoman mask is that same way. I have my own hair, a headband with cat ears, and yeah, and then my basic costume.
Now, is there a special guest that you want to show us?
I was going to wait until you said we're almost out of time. But
Okay,
all right,
so
I'll
maybe
do.
you can bring her up.
Well,
This
my
is part of the
favorite.
cat.
What?
Oh, go ahead.
My favorite Halloween symbol is ghosts. Yeah, if I'm out at night in my ghost costume and I'm twirling around, I can be spotted easily because I'm wearing white.
Yeah.
And it's also best if the moon is out, if it's full or almost full, because that way the whole skyline is better illuminated, and if there are other people around, you can see them in silhouette. You wouldn't be able to do that if there was no moon at all, or hardly any moon.
Yeah.
All right, now my favorite Halloween symbol is ghosts. This is my second place.
Look at that.
Black cats. Cats are one of the biggest things in my life.
Yeah.
And what's your cat's name?
This cat is named Midnight.
So maybe she should wave to the camera.
You kind of gave the secret away.
Oh.
When I started to do Catwoman and use Midnight, I thought of a gimmick, and I practiced it a few times so that I would get it right. So when I do take Midnight along, and especially if there's a reviewing stand somewhere along the way, either the MC or I will make a speech, and then I end up by saying, "There's one trick that you'll see right now. Come on, Midnight. This is what we've been waiting for. Come on." Yes, and especially right now. People all over the world are watching us. Can you do it? Come on. 1, 2, 3. Wave. Can you see how I'm moving my index finger?
Mm-hmm.
Here, look. There. See that? I don't hold the paw and move it up and down because that's not natural.
Mm-hmm.
This way, it's more natural.
Gravity's doing all the work for you. Well, half the work. Gravity's doing half the work.
Yeah. Come on, keep waving. Come on, come on. Wait the horse. Come on, Alex. There. That's a good girl.
Well, thank you very much, kitty cat. There you go.
Yeah. So since 2020 is Catwoman's 80th anniversary, I'll be doing her much more frequently than I normally do. Now, when it comes to parades, there are some sites that have never seen me do Catwoman at all, or sometimes they've seen me do Catwoman with Midnight. Now, when it comes to next year's Halloween parades, I'll use Midnight because she's a black cat. Mm-hmm. But other occasions where people have seen me before, or they're already familiar with Midnight, I'm going to use a stuffed tiger cub.
Oh, okay.
Well, the tiger cub I have is especially appropriate for Christmas parades because her basic coat is white, not orange. Mm-hmm. She has stripes, but like I said, her basic coat is white.
It's like a snow.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And since I'd still be wearing black when I'm in the Christmas parades, the white tiger cub would show up better, and well, the tiger cub can wave also.
Mm-hmm. So the Catwoman costume is all black, I guess.
No, not quite. The basic dress and tights are black, but especially during the cold weather, mm-hmm. I have to wear a black maxi cape, lined and trimmed with white and black fur.
Okay.
Now, some people might wonder, how long did it take you to train the cat to wave?
How long did it take me to train it?
Yeah.
Not that long, because see, I looked her over. I see these movable limbs. Okay, let me see. I'm looking in a mirror. No, that's not natural. That's the way Dorothy makes Toto wave at the end of the Wizard of Oz movie. That's not natural. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Come on, atta girl. Also, I use her rather than another stuffed cat I have that's all black Because if I'm wearing black and I have a solid black cat, you can't see her paw move up and down. It's camouflaged. Since Midnight has white paws and the tiger cub has white paws, that way the spectators can see a natural wave, especially for after dark parades.
Yeah, or at a distance. Or far away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, who was the quicker learner, Midnight or the tiger cub?
Excuse me?
Who learned the trick quicker, Midnight or tiger cub?
Well, I did it on Midnight first, but then I figured, I don't want to overuse Midnight. I did get these. I did get these stuffed tigers. Yes. Let me see if I can make the cub wave. It works. The cub's name is Cece. Cute cub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Can you stop for a minute? Do you want me to get Cece?
Where's maybe I can get her since I'm close to the door.
On top of the tank. There's two
Okay.
tough tigers.
All
She's the smaller one.
I'll bring Cece.
Come on, Midnight. Here, relax a while.
Do you have any? Midnight's for Halloween, and Cece's for the more winter Christmassy things.
No, in some places where people have seen Midnight a few times outside of Halloween, I would use Cece and say, here's Cece. Isn't she cute? Here, come on, Cece. Do what Midnight did. Come on, wave. Yeah, atta girl. Yeah, the speeches that I make about Catwoman, I really can't dance effectively. Well, in virtually any parade, I have to concentrate on keeping in line, moving forward. I can't stop unless the entries ahead of me have temporarily stopped. Right. And I always have to watch the spacing between myself and the entries immediately before and after me. Whenever I can, when I'm doing Catwoman, I make the animal wave to the spectators. But when there's a reviewing stand, I make a speech. Well, I don't know whether I should do the speech right now that I use for Midnight or Cece.
I'd say Midnight is more
right.
Classic.
Keep. While serving time for my crimes, sometimes I do community service. I care for the cats in area shelters. This is Midnight, one of my wards. She and I get along, and I've taught her one trick, which she'll do now. Okay, Midnight, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. Come on, we're still before the whole world. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Wave!
And I'm the audience.
Keep waving. Wave bye-bye Midnight. Wave bye-bye to the judges. Wave bye-bye to the crowds. Atta girl. And then I move on.
And what kind of response do you get from the judges?
What kind of reaction?
Yes.
Well, the judges never speak. They just write notes. But I have to make my presentation as effective as possible. Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's see what I would do with Cece. Would you believe this year is my 80th anniversary? To mark the occasion, I'm doing almost all community service this year. Right now, I'm at the zoo, taking care of lions, tigers, panthers, cougars, cheetahs, jaguars, leopards, all big cats. And this is Cece, a tiger cub. Cute cub. So even though she's so small, I have taught her one trick. Okay, come on, you ready, Cece? Come on, let's see if you can do it. Come on, you're really little, but you can do it. Come on, 1, 2, 3, wave! In a year or two, you should come to the zoo to see how she's grown up with her own cubs. Okay, come on, wait by. And, okay, there you go. Bye-bye.
What is she doing?
What?
What are you doing? The pen.
Oh, well, the pen was just the first convenient object I had at hand. Well, you know how sometimes real animals may be born too small, or they lose the parents, or they're undernourished. Then they're bottle fed, just like newborn babies. So I used the pen because it was the most convenient object right at hand. If I make a habit of bottle feeding Cece, I use a very small medicine container, white.
Did you notice sometimes cougars take care of the cubs?
Cougars what to their cubs?
They take care of them.
Oh yeah, sure, of course. Any mother would automatically look after her own cubs.
Right, and some neighborhoods have more cougars than others.
Yeah. There was one time that I went to a zoo in Cape May, and there was this big cage in 2 compartments, and there was a cougar in one of them. Next to the other half, there was a keeper who slid open the door, and the cougar poked out its head and either licked or nuzzled alongside the keeper's face. Obviously, they had a rapport.
Yeah. Not something I would do. Not something I would do.
Yeah, Alex doesn't like cougars.
What about cougars?
He doesn't like cougars. I, on the other hand, prefer cougars.
I have a healthy respect for cougars.
That's right.
Is what I'm saying.
But the reason I incorporated into the speech lions, tigers, panthers, cougars, cheetahs, etc., they're all members of the cat family.
Actually, if you asked me to give a list, you gave a much longer list than I could think of off the top of my head. I forget a lot of the big cats.
Now, since we're coming up close to the time, you
How much time do we have left?
about 10 minutes.
Well, I want to let me summarize everything I talked about. Halloween started as a prequel, a preliminary to All Saints' Day, a sacred holy day. Supernatural beings supposedly rose up at that time for a last bit of social and partying fun before the onset of the really cold weather.
Wait a minute. Now, okay, so the Druids thought of Samhain, which I recently found out was pronounced Samhain after all these years.
I always heard it pronounced Samhain.
I know, right?
It officially marked the end of the summer.
Right. So the Druids thought that the ghosts would rise up, right?
Yes.
And then All Saints' Day is a Catholic holiday. So how do you think those
no,
got
wait a minute.
intertwined?
It's a holy day of obligation for Catholics,
goes
with
Mass.
but other Christian denominations might also observe it without really big ceremonies or compelling the citizens to go to church services.
But do you think that? How do you think that the Druid holiday and the Christian holiday became intertwined? Are they related to one another, or just coincidence?
Well, since the Druids came from Ireland, obviously over time, Irish immigrants to the United States kept the tradition going, so that eventually October 31st and November 1st were juxtaposed.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I talked about the workmanship of costumes in the past and in the present, the effectiveness or lack of effectiveness in terms of authenticity. And I described how costumes I wear for the parades are authentic in terms of characterization if I'm doing a character, and they're also appropriate for cold temperatures because I have extra garments hidden underneath. Yes. And I told you about milestone anniversaries, my sometimes doing a specific character or theme that has a milestone anniversary any given year, or more diverse costumes for all the Halloween parades if there's no special anniversary. Next year I'll be doing Catwoman because it's her 80th, and my 2 stuffed cats that I make wave to the spectators and the judges. I don't use both at the same time. I use either one or the other.
Okay, so tell us where you're going to be in the next few days. So if people want to come out and see you in a parade, where can they find you?
I don't understand.
You're going to be doing Halloween parades.
I have one more coming up.
Oh, just one more. So tell us where that is.
That's, I mentioned earlier about one partly inland site in between 2 oceanfront sites.
Well, you might want to tell people where it is.
I will. The site this time will be that slightly inward site, Middle Township. Sometimes it's called Cape May Courthouse.
And what day it is and what time?
It's Wednesday the 30th. The date pattern is either the last Wednesday or the next to the last Wednesday of October, and it's always after dark.
Okay.
So, in closing, anything else?
If other world countries have traditions similar to Mischief Night, those citizens will pay a price at the end of time.
Okay. Is there a Groupon, maybe? Maybe they get a Groupon so it's cheaper?
Wait, what?
There's a thing called Groupon when you get a bunch of people together and to buy something, so maybe the price can be a little less.
Well, for what occasion?
Well, you said they're going to pay a price. So maybe the discount can apply to a large number of people.
The only thing I see, that I've seen throughout time, is extra large supplies of commercial candies in supermarkets and drugstores. The bags are always rather big because they have a number of snack size or bite size candies individually wrapped.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you very much for doing our Halloween special, Suzanne.
Yeah.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, the cape.
The cape.
That gives the better illusion of the mist or fog. Yeah, the perfect Halloween morning is foggy.
That's right.
Perhaps at midday it might be just normal, but then at night, it's best if there's at least some moon, preferably almost or full moon.
All right, so let's wave goodbye, and we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.